Good morning. This is Karen from NewClevelandRadio.net. And this morning it is time for KYaks.guru with Ken Ludmer. And Ken's guest is Ken Ludmer. Welcome, sir.
Well, I'm here because I got my talking hat on today. So today is Stories from the Road. I'm talking about, I'm going to promote both of my books, which was, let me show you. The first one was
Insanity Begins at Home. Love
Insanity Begins at Home. And that's me on an elephant in Thailand. That was celebrating my 70th birthday. And I didn't even know the shot was taken. It was a long range from the woods. We were out all by, the elephants were quite far apart from one another, and no saddle, no nothing. You just climbed up on top and off you went. And one of the men that worked for the company is hiding in the woods, and he's got a long range telescope, and he takes this picture. I just thought it was one of the neatest ones I've ever had.
Absolutely.
And then the newest book which just came out is Searching for It, 50 Years of Conversation with the Road Warrior Therapist. So that's, both of these are available on Amazon and digital, and you can put them on Nook and everything. So it has all of these stories in it. So most of the stories I'm telling today are in the books, but I just wanted to give a sample.
Okay. Well, we're anxious to hear your stories.
Okay, we'll start simple. When my grandmother and grandfather left, they lived in New Jersey. They lived where I was born, in Weehawken, which is, when you take the Lincoln Tunnel into New York City, you're in Weehawken. So if you've ever seen the postcard of the skyline of New York City, they are all taken from Weehawken in Hamilton Plaza. So my grandmother and grandfather, they're retiring and they're going to Florida. And they have a 4-room apartment up on the 2nd floor. I'm a college kid. I'm 20 years old, poor as a church mouse, working and going to school at the same time. And they make the decision that I should take over the apartment. Okay, here we go. So now my mother lives in the same town. So I take over Nanny's apartment. And it's got, old nanny furniture in it. I'm a 20-year-old, and it's got old nanny furniture. So the dining room has this big old maple table. And that's the first target for me. Now I figured I don't need a dining room table. It's just me cooking cheeseburgers and grilled cheese. I'm lucky I can, cook a piece of broccoli, And there isn't a lot of people coming over clamoring for my food. So I don't need this dining room table. So I come up with the idea that I could replace it with a pool table. So how do I do that? Well, I get the idea that I look underneath it and the top is just screwed into the bottom. And the bottom of these big old maple legs, those old time tables, you pull them apart, you put leaves in them for when funeral. Right. So I figured I can just take the top off, and it comes in 2 halves. Luckily enough, it comes in 2 halves. So which I do. I unscrew the thing, take this heavy maple top, 2 sections, put it there. Now I got the bottom of the thing. I said, I got to get rid of this thing. So I get a couple guys. We get rid of it, put it downstairs. People take it away. I go out and I buy a French provincial pool table, an old-time, heavy, curved legs, slate-topped pool table with felt bumpers of a beautiful table. Took about 5 of us to get the damn thing upstairs. I almost killed myself to get this thing into the house. So we get it, I set it up in the dining room. Now I take Nanny's top to her table, put it over it, and get a big tablecloth and throw it over that so that my mother wouldn't go out of her mind when she came to the apartment to see what I had done to the pool table, what I had done to Nanny's table. So now I have a pool table right in my dining room. I mean, anytime I'm not studying or not working, I'm playing pool. And this is a standard bar-sized table. And I'm practicing day and night and day and night. And eventually, it was I have got to the skill level where I was pretty good and I could make money playing pool, which is what I did when I hitchhiked across the country. I played pool everywhere from Georgia to Montana. Yeah, it was a way in which I made money. So let me tell you now, I have Nanny's apartment, and we do that a couple of years, and I'm getting better and better and better. Finally, I graduate college, and me and my buddy, we move into Greenwich Village. And we have a really nice $52.90 apartment on the 5th floor of a walk-up. Down the corner is the International. It's a local bar with a pool table. Like most places in the village during the day, it caters to the afternoon crowd. They're the truckers coming in, the electricians, the plumbers, the local working people. They come in, they have a beer, and they shoot pool. So this is the place that I always went to. At night, I lived right off Washington Street. Now, Washington Street was quite tawdry back in those days. They had empty trailer trucks. Now, Greenwich Village is known for artists, poets, sculptors, painters, etc., but it has a huge gay population. Christopher Street's only 3 blocks away. And after 1 o'clock in the morning, Washington Street became a trolling place where cars from New Jersey would come and pick up transvestites, pick up everybody. They would go into the big trucks and swap body fluids. So it was it was a pretty tawdry scene. So I'm living with a girl, and she's got a little white Maltese, a tiny little white, weird-looking dog. And I used to have to make the 1 o'clock in the morning last pee run. So I take the dog, and I'm walking out on Washington Street. Here's me, long hair, probably wearing tight bell bottoms, whatever shirt I had on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm walking this little dog. Sure enough, guy from Greenwich Street is walking his. It turns out to be the 2 dogs are from the same litter. So they had known one another as puppies. So the dogs are doing their sniff thing and everything. And Bob is flamboyantly gay. I mean, he's got multicolors. He's, kind of swishy and stuff like that. And so he and I, here we are, in the middle of all this high sex traffic. He and I are standing there with 2 faggy little white dogs. And wouldn't you know, a car stops. And in the car is a guy from Weehawken who's out trolling. And he looks up and he says, I know you. I know you. Aren't you Ludmer? You're from Weehawken. You used to play baseball and football, right? I had heard that you went to the village, but I didn't know you were gay. Yeah. What can I say to this guy? Here I am, 1 o'clock in the morning with a flamboyantly gay guy standing there with 2 white little faggy poodles. No matter what I said, I'm going to look ridiculous. So I said, well, if that's what you think, that's all that came out of me. So Bob and I become friends. Now, he's got the wildest crowd in the village. There was a Thursday night poker game at his house that included every level of gay, from openly flamboyant with, little short pants with heavy jewelry, to people wearing boas, people dressed as Bette Midler, people in togas. I mean, they had a garden party out in the back that was nuts. And all these guys I'm the only straight guy there. Because I'm a friend of Bob. And so he says that he's straight. And well, if you know the gay community, nobody's straight. And if you're not, if you think you're straight, you're not, because there's a part of you inside that really truly wants to be gay. So these guys, they're getting me drinks, they're coming by playing with the hair, they're singing to me, they're doing all kinds of stuff. Bob lives with a tall, really good-looking older man named Robert. Now, Robert had gotten sick, and I hadn't seen him in a while. So the 2 stories merge. I'm going through Sheridan Square, which is the capital of the West Village, and I run into Robert. And I'm so happy to see him because he's out of the hospital. I'll give him a big hug. As I give him the hug, there's the car with the 4 guys from Weehawken who are coming down to the village to see if the story about me is true.
Oh,
So now they see me hugging this, and he's obviously flamboyant. They see me now. So now they heard the story about the dogs, and now I'm hugging a guy daytime in the center of so the story is spreading all over the town. A week later, I'm getting a call from my mother. She's saying, Kenny, everybody in town is talking about you. For what the hell are you doing? You're hugging guys during the middle of the day? I said, Ma, it makes no difference. I mean, if somebody's a friend of yours, it doesn't matter if they're gay. I'm not. I was just giving them a hug. She said, I can't go shopping. Every time I go shopping, people are telling me stories about you. So I figured I had to solve it for her. Not for, I didn't care. So comes Thanksgiving, I go back to my high school. I get on my motorcycle and I take my girlfriend and I tell her to wear the flimsiest outfit that she can possibly wear. And I'm wearing rough guy stuff. I'm wearing the pants with the big belt and the shirt and everything. And I pull in, I come in on the motorcycle and there's a, if you know the Lincoln Tunnel going into New York, above the tunnel is a football field. And that was my hometown field. So I go to the ambulance gate where they let in the ambulances and the trucks and the fire people and all that stuff. And Al Whitten is running the gate. And Al Whitten and I grew up together. So I just said, Al, let me in. So sure enough, he lets me in. And I park the bike strategically where the path, you have to go past the bike to go to the stands. So now everybody in town sees me on a motorcycle with a girlfriend. Everybody's going by. I'm giving them. And the rumors stopped about that. And my mother called me up and she said, thank you. So now back to the village. The International is 1 block away. It's around the corner. So during the day, you play pool, et cetera, and you have a hamburger and a beer and stuff like that. I hadn't been in the place in quite a while at night. But like most places in the village, at night, it develops its own crowd. You know, if you went to Julius, it's an older gay male crowd. And if you went to Ty's on Christopher Street, it was a young crowd. If it was the Corner Bistro, it was a storytelling place for tourists. If you went to the White Horse, it was an Irish bar, you know, and there were always Irish storytellers. Well, the International now became the Greenwich Tavern. And as I walk there, it's like 7:30 at night. I come to the door. There's this huge woman standing at the door, arms folded. She's got short black hair with a part. She's got big, nasty earrings. She's got all kinds of bracelets with studs on it. She's got a big belt, big, giant dungarees with a white T-shirt rolled up with a cigarette pack in it, right out of Marlon Brando's 50. Now, this is the biggest bull dyke you ever saw. And she looks nasty. And she's got a nameplate on the front of the top of her chest. Big, nameplate. It says Marty on it. So as I go to walk in the bar, she goes, where the fuck you think you're going? I said, well, go inside, shoot some pool. Not for you, sweet place. Not for you, sweet face. The place has changed. So I look at her. I said, Marty, I live around the block. I've been shooting pool in this joint for years. They still have a pool table? Yeah. Well, I back up. Marty, with your permission, I would like to enter the place and play some pool. Ah, very smart, sweet face, very smart. She said, one thing, my people are in there. Leave them alone. Stay to the pool. Opens up the door, I walk in. Walk in now, it's all gay women, mostly bulls, a lot of femmes running around. The first thing they look me up and down, they say to me, is Marty still working the door? I said, yes, I had the pleasure. They say, well, don't worry about her. She's just a bad bull. She thinks she runs the place. Just play some pool, have some fun. So I'm watching the pool, and the level of pool is pretty good. And I start playing, and, I'm a good pool player by this point. So I'm doing very well. Next time I come back, I come to the door, there's Marty. And she says, "Hey, Sweetface, I hear you play a pretty good game." She said, "Just stick to the rules." And she opens the door, lets me in. Now they got a sign up. It says, "West Village Tournament, starting in 10 days. Well, I go bone up at my practice. I enter the tournament. Sure enough, it's a pretty good tournament, and there is a lot of good pool players. And it's 3 rounds of finals, et cetera, and I make it to the finals, and I do very well. I'm lucky enough I win the tournament. Now, not everybody is happy with me winning the tournament, because now it's going to be, the finals are going to be over on Greenwich Avenue at another gay women's bar. But I'm now going to be representing the Greenwich Tavern. So there's a lot of dissension. The people are saying, guy, and Marty says, "Listen, you bitches, he beat every one of you, so shut the fuck up." So now I haven't seen Marty in a while. And the tournament begins over on Greenwich Avenue. So I go over and I come to the door. Who's at the door? Marty. She's now the bouncer for the tournament. So as I walk up to her, she gives me a huge shot in the arm, like, "Hey, Bing, Marty, I may need that arm someday." So she said, "Listen, Sweetface, this place is different. Very, very different. Stick to the pool. It's a tournament. Do well, but watch out." So I walk in, and this is a huge place. Now, the bulls are definitely, all the bartenders are bulls. The manager is a bull. It's a rough place. And there's a lot of very scantily clad femmes that are flitting around playing. And, short shorts, open tops, this and that. I mean, it's really bad. So the tournament begins, and it's even better than what was over at the Greenwich. Go through 2 rounds. Now we come to the finals. It's now the last 4 days of the finals. Elimination. You lose, you're out. Comes down to 4 players. I'm one of the 4 players that's left. My opponent is this beautiful, high-cheeked, thin, long hair, scantily clad woman in ultra short shorts. And she's got full breasts, and she's wearing a top that's open to the navel. So every time she's leaning over to shoot the game, boom, out they pop. And so, I'm saying, this is unfair, Marty. I'm still a guy, I'm bitching and I'm moaning and I'm going, and the place is laughing like crazy because they know. And every time she bent over, she had that little smile on her face, like she knew exactly what she was doing. She was taunting me, trying to distract me, and it was working. And so, Marty's standing at the door, and I'm looking, and I'm just kind of talking out loud, trying to get it out. I'm belly aching, blah, 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 blah. So Marty says, it's a perfect comment for a situation like place is full. Marty says, "Take your dick out." The girls went nuts. Everybody's hooting and hollering. They start chanting, "Take it out, take it out, take it out." Anyway, I chose to keep it zipped. I get back into the game. Now I'm playing against her, and she is strutting around, walking around me. The girls are saying, "Choke those nipples, girl. I wish I had them." Every kind of comment to do it. I get my focus back, and I beat her. I go on to the last game of the finals. Now I win the tournament. So now I'm the West Village Gay Women's Champ. So Marty makes up a shirt. She gets a T-shirt. And she has 2 naked breasts painted onto the T-shirt, and underneath it says "the winner." So now I got to wear this T-shirt. I go back to the Greenwich. I'm wearing the T-shirt at the Greenwich, blah, blah, blah. So now the Upper West Side tournament is playing for the city championship. It's playing people from the East Side. They're playing people from Soho. They're playing people downtown. I'm representing the West Village now. So we go up. Marty comes with me, and we go up to a place called Tapakeg up on Columbus Avenue. And this is a straight bar. This isn't a gay bar. This is a straight bar. Now, here's Marty in full regalia. I mean, she's got the studs, the beads, the hair. She now's got big, heavy sunglasses on. We come to the door and she says, "You got to be announced." So we open up the door and Marty bellows, "I got your fucking A West Village Goodness champion right here. Say hello to Sweet Face." Unbelievable. Okay. Now, next on the list. I finally started to go hitchhiking. And I'm going to take off and I'm going to go to the country, see the country. I got $75 and a knapsack. I have on a shirt, pair of pants, probably some kind of lightweight shoes. I got one map. In the backpack is some toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrush, a razor, not a lot. I get my first couple of rides, wind up staying with a family outside in Pittsburgh. They put me up for the night. In the morning, they drop me off by the local highway, by the gas station, and a big rigger picks me up. Now, if you want to learn America, and if you want to know what it's all about, there are two people that you have to know. You have to know the cross-country big riggers, and you have to know the waitresses, because they are the fabric of the country. Now, Mac picks me up, and he takes a look at me, and he just looks at me, and he says, "You ever done this before?" "No." Oh, my God. He knew I was so green. We're riding through Pennsylvania and through Ohio, and we stop at a Union 76. If you've ever seen them, they're the big truck stops. I'd never seen one. I mean, I never saw a parking lot this big and all full of tractor trailers. We go inside to the restaurant, and it's a huge cafeteria style restaurant where you get a tray and you pick your food and then you sit at the table. Or if you want service, you have to go to a separate room where they have a waiter or waitress service. And next to that is a merchandise store. It's part of this whole part of this ensemble. And in the store, they have pub tents, they have lanterns, they have boots, they have rink. Max says to me, he said, "Listen, kid, what do you got in that bag?" And I showed him what I had. He said, "Look, you're going to need Band-Aids, a medical kit, aspirin, a sewing kit, a poncho, toilet paper, soap, a hat, a water bottle, and whatever I see that I think you need, like a jacket." I had no idea that, what do you do if it's night and you're raining and you're cold and you don't have a ride, And it was just like, as we rode through Ohio, I was getting a learning lesson that I really needed. He was telling me, don't ever hitch on an open road. Hitch from a diner. Meet the people you're going to talk to in the car. Meet them first before you get in their car. If it's a trucker, you want to meet him at a gas station. You want to talk to him, see if he's on goofballs or not, see if he's drinking, see if he's been sleeping in the last 24 hours. You just don't take the first ride that comes along. You have to learn what the hell you're doing. It was like, why didn't they ever teach me this in school? How come I never learned? How come I never learned about, road safety and learning how to talk to people, etc.? But I think Mac was like a replacement for my father. It was like a guy who saw a real greenhorn. And by the time I left him, I had to get a bigger knapsack because the one I had didn't work anymore. So now I'm hitching from Roanoke, Virginia to Knoxville, Tennessee. And this is the Appalachians. Now, I had no idea what I was in for with the Appalachians. I get a ride from a guy in a beat-up pickup truck named Clarence Culpepper. Now, Clarence Culpepper has most of his teeth, but the ones in the front are missing. And he's looking at me like I'm from the moon. I asked him why he picked me up. Well, I'm going to do some talking. I need to have some talking. So he wanted to have some talking with me. And he just said, where are you from? I said, New York. Oh, you big city boy. We don't get many of them down here. He says, all right, city, hop in. So he's calling me city the whole time. And now we're riding along, and he just says, well, listen, I'm getting hungry. And I got a cousin who lives up the road here. I'm going to go see her. Now, I had learned my lesson on my first hitchhike, that you never get out of a truck or you never get out in the open road in an area you don't know. No matter how bad your ride is, you stay with it till you get your next ride. So I figured I got two choices. I can get off on this country-ass road in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, in the middle of the Appalachians, or I can stay with this cracker and go see his cousin. I decide to go see the cousin. So now we're going up the road. The truck is having trouble making it up the hill, sputtering and stuff like that. He makes a wrong turn. We go down the road. Now a couple guys with sitting on a chair with nasty straw hats. They're looking at us like, like, what are we doing here? We're strangers. And the mountains and the countryside is beautiful, but the houses are ramshackle. They have tin roofs, rusted. There's everything on the front lawn. I mean, you're really with poor people. And it was like, whoa, I never saw this before. So we pass, and now we make another wrong turn. Comes a guy sitting in front of a merchandise, one general store kind of guy. And they ask him, he says, I'm looking for my cousin, Jesse John. Do anybody know where Wilbum's Road is? And the cracker says, that way. So we turn around, we go that way. We come down, we get the road, we finally make it up the hill, and we come into Jesse John's property. Now this is like, if you added up all the cars, maybe they would be one car you could make out of all of them. There's a skinny-ass goat running around. He doesn't look so good. There's a mangy dog with 3 legs scratching himself like that. And out of this beaten down porch with missing floorboards, out comes Jesse John. Now, Jesse John has got real long, scraggly hair, is wearing a plaid shirt, which is misbuttoned, the bottom button. And so Clarence says, Jesse. And he goes, oh, man, he's so happy. And he says, who's that with you? He said, well, that's City, Jesse. He's coming with me. We going to Knoxville. All right. He said, where's the beer? Said, we didn't bring any beer. You didn't bring any beer? The hell you coming to my house for if you didn't bring any beer? And he starts yelling at him. And you're gonna drink my beer, right? You two moochers gonna come up here and not bring me nothing and gonna drink my beer. Oh boy. So now what do I do? Jesse comes out, he's got 3 cans of beer. He hands one to Clarence and he gives one to me. Now, do I take the damn beer? Because I know he don't want to give me the damn beer, but he offered the beer. So is it worse to say no to this guy and say no to the beer, or should I take the beer? What do you think?
Take the beer.
Take the beer. So I took the beer. And now we're sitting down. Now I'm waiting for the deliverance music to play. I mean, I just, if these guys take me into the shed and tie me up, nobody's ever going to know I was here, right? Out of the house comes Jesse John's wife. Now, Jesse John's wife looked more like Jesse John than she should. I mean, there wasn't much difference between the two of them. She didn't have teeth. She had scraggly. She had some kind of 1938 house coat on, with pink slippers with a rabbit on it. I mean, it was insane. I'm starting to lose my mind. And of course, they are the dumbest, racist people you've ever seen. They hate everybody. They start having this conversation about the woe of the world, poor me, and they're targeting every single group. And I'm just sitting there, having my beer, not saying a word. Jesse gets up and he goes and he gets the axe that's in the tree stump, and he starts chopping wood. While we're talking, he's chopping wood. I'm watching his axe. Boom, boom, boom. And he says, I got something to show you. So he says, come with me. So now we walk into the barn. Like, here's the barn where they're going to tie me up and hang me. And what's he got? He's got a new shotgun. So he's going to show Jesse. Jesse's going to show Clarence the new shotgun. He shows him the shotgun, and everybody's happy and everything when we finish the beer. And he says, well, we got to get it going. And everybody would just say goodbye to Jesse. And as we're getting in the car, Jesse says, I hadn't said a word all day. It was a half an hour. It seemed like it was all day. Jesse says to Clarence, he said, nice feller, that city. And we bump out of there and we roll down the bottom of the mountains. I find out I was in Pulaski, Tennessee. Pulaski, Tennessee. And I swear, if they would have had the banjo playing, I would have had a heart attack. So now I'm in Illinois. I get picked up by a guy in a gas station who's pretty clean looking, but he's gruff. He's a little bit, he's got a real edge to him, but he's got a beautiful big rig. I mean, and this is the old days where they had the good buddy and they're talking to everybody on the CB and stuff like that. Well, we had to go through, I'm headed to St. Louis. So we're heading through Southern Illinois, east going west. And he starts in about blacks. And he starts talking about the shifty, low-life, lazy, nasty, welfare, baby popping, and on and on and on. We did about 3 hours where I took him on. And I said, look, I'm from New York, and I don't have these values. In New York, we have plenty of really, really good people of all colors, and blah, blah, blah. And I was emotionally exhausted by the end of this ride. It took so much out of me just to hear the level of ignorance, the level of prejudice. It reminds you of today. Here we are 50 years later, and we still got these same people. They have the same views. They're still running around with these same views. So we finally get through. We go through East St. Louis, and Lawrence is saying to me, lucky it's daytime. Boy, you don't want to go through here at night. It's nasty, blah, 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 blah. Why is it nasty? Because it's a poor black neighborhood. At least he's on the highway and he's looking down at it, talking about it. Blah, blah, blah. So he drops me off. We finally get across, get into St. Louis. St. Louis is a pretty neat city. I like it right away. But I'm not there for St. Louis and the big clubs. I don't have money. I'm going to hear the blues. I want to hear blues. St. Louis has got great Mississippi Delta blues. So I'm walking around. I come to more of a marginal neighborhood of St. Louis outside a shoe shine parlor. And there's 4 black guys there. So I approach them. They look at me like, what does this guy want? So I tell them who I am and that I'm hitchhiking across the country, and they're just looking at me. Nobody's saying nothing. Finally, they said, that accent, you're from New York, ain't you? Yes, I am. What are you doing here? Well, I said, my best line of the day. I said, I'm looking to hear some blues. And there's no blues in the white neighborhood. And we hear that, So I said, I was wondering if you guys could help me out. Okay, come back at 10:30. We'll be right here. So I go, I find a bar, I shoot some pool, I make $6. I go get something to eat. I'm hanging around, reading the paper, having a beer. 10:30, I come back to the shoe shine parlor. Nobody's there. I'm just standing there, sucking my thumb, waiting. Sure enough, the car comes. And the 4 black guys are in the car. And they open up the door. And I look in. Now they're all dressed up. They got nice shirts on. They got nice pants on. So I get in the car and I say to them, guys looking good. I see you guys looking for girls, aren't you? So one of them says, this cracker is okay, I said, well, where are we going? He said, you want to hear blues, right? We're going to East St. Louis. Now, when I told this story back home later to my friends, they said, you're telling me you just met 4 black guys and you got into their car to go to a dive bar in East St. Louis at night. Are you out of your mind? I mean, don't you know we just had race riots in this country? Don't you know that, I said, yeah, but there's no race riots in the old blues bars. People are. I went. And we come to James's joint. Now, James's joint, if you had to draw it up about if this is the experience you wanted to go see some real Delta blues, you would pick James's joint. All black, smoky, this is before the cigarette wars. It's all nasty. They got a 5-piece combo that is really good. The place is riveting. There's action. There's a bar over there. To the right, there's an area with a pool table. So just the warm-up group is there, and the warm-up group is good. So I tell my buddies, I'm going over to shoot some pool. So I go over to shoot the pool. Now the level of pool is good. There are people that are making the right shot. They're at least attempting to make the right shot. As it happens, I beat the first 4 guys. Now there's tension. Like all of a sudden, the white guy from out of state is coming in, beating the local black guys, and they can't take it. Now they're yelling at the black guys who are losing to me. They're getting mad because it's embarrassing to them. So they go and get Sweet William. Now, Sweet William is about 360. And he moves like a cat. Graceful, centered, calm, elegant, big rings on his hands. Most pool players don't wear any ornaments on your hands, not Big William. Sweet William, I missed 1 shot the whole night, and it was against Sweet William. And once Sweet William got on the table, he ran the table. So I picked up the money that I had won, showed it to everybody, went over and put it in the tip jar for the band. Guaranteed my safety for the night. Everybody's now, the white guy's okay, wasn't here to hustle us, blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting at the table with the boys, and they're now, everybody's saying, Warren, who's the white shadow? Now, most blacks are used to being around all white places, right? I mean, it's the culture you live in. But most white people are not used to being around a place that is 100% black. But I was just used to it. So I had no trouble. I was fine. So now we're listening to the music and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize it's now 2 a.m. I have no place to go. So I tell them, can you guys drop me back in St. Louis, back downtown? And they said, no, you don't want to be in St. Louis at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're staying with us. So one of the 2 brothers, Warren Dimity, had a little place above a store, a little 2-bedroom place with a cot. And these guys put me up for the night, and I spent my night with these guys. So that was the East St. Louis Blues. So now I'm about halfway across the country. I find myself in Oklahoma City. Now, Oklahoma City to Oklahomans is a big city. To me, it was like a neighborhood in Brooklyn. You know, I find a guy renting bicycles, little store. He's got bicycles outside. You know, I've been riding in trucks and stuff, and I really felt I needed a walk, but you couldn't walk around here. It was too big to walk around, but I figured, well, maybe I'll take a bike. So I go to the man inside, and I say, I'd like to rent a bike. So he says, pick one out. What's your name? Ken. He writes down 130. So I'm looking at him like, okay, aren't you going to look for my driver's license? What's the deposit? What's all this? Nothing. He just says, no, just come back by 3:30. I said, aren't you afraid I'm going to steal the bike? Yeah. No, people don't steal bikes around here. I said, but I'm not from around here. He said, it doesn't matter. And I'm thinking back. I said, I had a laundry guy in the village that did my laundry for years. And when I lost the ticket, he made me wait 5 days to make sure that I wasn't going to steal my own laundry. You know, like in New York, if somebody's nice to you, you wonder what they're trying to sell you, you know? So here's a guy who has absolutely complete 100% trust in me. And I won't let go. So I said, well, I don't understand. He said, all right. Where do you think you could go on that bicycle that I couldn't find you if I wanted to?
Makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't have a car. I don't know anybody. I don't know where I'm going. So I go and I go out for my bike ride. I'm going to parks and I'm watching mommies and stuff like that. I come back. I give the guy the bike. And he is bitching. This nice old man. He's bitching to another customer about the goddamn Indians. And I'm, what Indians? What's he talking about? He said, well, it's Saturday night. Oh, goddamn Indians, all they do is drink and they carry on and make a lot of music and blah, 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 blah. And I said, that sounds like every cowboy town I've ever been in. The cowboys whoop it up. Cowboys is different. They work hard during the week. They just need to let off some steam. But these Indian loafers, they just laying around, and all they do is drink and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, where the hell am I? I'm this nice guy. All of a sudden, you know, he hates Indians. Well, in the store now is a short, red-haired woman with a cowboy hat on. And she looks at him and she just says, knock it off. Knock it off. Are you still on those Indians? If your daughter hadn't run away with that young stud Indian, you wouldn't be saying any of this. And I said, is that true? An Indian got his girl? He said, yeah. Oh, so we're having this. So she's looking at me and she says, now, Emma Sue, short, wearing like tight jeans, and a cowboy shirt that's open more than it should be for the middle of the afternoon. But she's got jewelry and she's pretty and blah, blah, blah. And she said, where are you going, youngster? Calls me youngster. I'm like 22, 23 at the time. She's a good 38. I said, well, I was heading east. I was probably heading to Tulsa. She said, well, ain't you lucky? She said, that's where I'm going. I'll give you a ride. Okay. Well, we get in a ride. She said, but I'm a little thirsty. She said, you mind if we stop at a local place and have a pop before we go? Her rules are gone. So we go into this place. Now they got a pool table. So now I'm introduced. I'm saying to myself, I'm saying to her, you know, I shoot a pretty good game. You know, everybody says they shoot a pretty good game. I said, no, I shoot a pretty good game. So we go into the bar, and of course, I play her and beat her. Now the other guys, because they're more interested in her, they're focused on her. They figured, I'm this young guy, can't hold on to this woman. These guys are more senior than me. They're going to, you know, take the girl away from me. So now they start playing. They're focused on the girl. They're not focused on the pool. I'm focused on the pool. So now I'm winning some money and blah, blah, blah. And before you know it, Emma Sue, she's got 2, 3 beers. And now she says, now it's time for the shots. I said, not for me. I'm leaving. No, don't go, don't go. She said, no. I said, I'm not, you've had quite a few already. All right, because I'm driving, let's go. So we go out, we get into the truck. We're sitting in the front seat of the truck. The next thing I know, she's all over me. She jumps, she's got her hand behind my neck, starts kissing, carrying on. Man, boy, these older women, like, And then all of a sudden, she just stops, composes herself, just gives me the look, doesn't say anything, starts up the truck. We start heading away. We start heading towards Tulsa. We're riding about 20 minutes, and she pulls over. She found a little creek and a little piece of land. Out in the back of the truck comes the blanket. We'll lay down. We're going to have a drink, sit by the water, blah, blah, blah. So she starts in again. Now she's grabbing around the neck and blah, blah, blah. And she says, what's that around your neck? I said, it's a mezuzah. A what? A mezuzah. I said, it's Jewish. People put them on their doors. It's a good luck thing. People come in and, you kiss the mezuzah, blah, blah, blah. You mean you're not a Christian? I said, no, ma'am, I'm not a Christian. Don't you be calling me ma'am. My name is Emma Sue. And I have never met a Jew person before. Oh, I informed her of proper etiquette. I told her she could call me Jewish, or she could just call me a Jew. She said, I have heard about you people. You people smell funny. You can't be trusted. You steal money. I've heard a lot of bad things about you people. Now, I'm out here in middle Oklahoma, and this woman is attacking Jews, and she's never met one. Or at least I'm thinking, why the hell would they be prejudiced against Jews out here? I got this guy hates the Indians. The first guy hated the blacks. The next guy hates the Indians. This one hates Jews. So she's absolutely mind blown. The fact that she said, well, you look Christian. You look like a good old boy. She said, and you shoot pool better than anybody else I'd ever seen. And you telling me that you're a Jewish boy from New York? And I said, well, yes, I am. Okay. Well, what are those funny letters on there? I said, well, that's Hebrew. What's that? I said, it's a language. So now we're starting up again, and I'm not into it. I mean, I'm just there. I'm not saying yes. I'm not saying no. She looks at me and she said, well, I have absolutely ruined this moment. And we get back in the truck, and now we're heading back to Tulsa for like the 4th time. We're on our way to Tulsa now. About 30 miles later, she said, I'm really sorry. She said, you're a really nice young man, and I'm sorry for all the things I've said about you. And they said, if everybody is like you, I'll have to change my opinion. I said, well, Emma Sue, and I love saying Emma Sue because, in New York, people don't use their middle name. It's like, Billy Don and Joe Willie and, So here, Emma Sue. I said, well, Emma Sue, you'll never find a place where you're going to like all the people. You ever been in a whole room of Catholics and liked every one of them in the room? You ever been in a room with all Muslims and liked everyone in the room? I said, it's the same thing with a whole room of Jews. You won't like everyone. They're all going to be different. They're no different than anybody else. So she said, well, I have seen that I have hurt your feelings, and I am going to make it up to you. Uh-oh. So we come to Tulsa, and she says, it's now like 6, 7 o'clock at night. We've been talking all afternoon. She's flipped. She's all of a sudden, she's this nice person who's apologetic. She's very warm. She said, well, my children are with my younger sister. She's looking at them because I was seeing Mama in Oklahoma City, and my place is free. So if you would like, I would like to make you dinner. Show you I'm truly sorry. We get back, and she has a chinchilla farm. There's all kinds of lovely animals. She's a chinchilla raiser. She has other little, there's rabbits, and there's other kinds of, the place smells beautifully. It's like, and it was really well appointed. It was a well-kept place. And she has this gorgeous stone and wood house. We'll walk in, leather couch, fireplace, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's really nice. She says, I'll be with her. She puts down a bottle of wine, not beer, puts down a bottle of wine, goes off into the kitchen, and you can smell that she's cooking up a nice dinner. So I'm saying, oh boy, what am I going to do now? You know, when dinner is up, you know, I'm here. I'm relying on her to get back on the road. After dinner, we had a really nice time. She goes in. Now she comes out. What is she wearing? She's got on a silk robe.
Oh, no.
You know, now this woman's 38 years old. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm 22, 23, so there's no doubt what I'm going to do. Right? It's not even a question. So she puts out her hand. Later on, we go upstairs into this absolutely beautiful wood loft made of cedar. The smells are beautiful. The windows are open, and you're smelling all the farm, the flowers and stuff. It was one of the nicest nights I ever had. It was just wonderful. In the morning, I wake up, I smell, strong smell of coffee. She's already washed everything that was in my bag. And she's hanging it up on the line. We're having breakfast outside on this little gazebo little place, blah, blah, blah. And she said, I'm sure I am sorry that I did what I did yesterday. Had I known differently, she said, I would have been a lot more respectful. And thank you very much for being who you are and teaching me a lesson and blah, blah, blah. And when everything was done, we packed up, and she drove me to the next thing and went off and picked up the kids.
Oh, my.
Right? I had forgot one part of the story, and it was probably the most important part of the story. When we were back on the blanket, and she was confused about the mezuzah and everything, I had said to her, you know those little funny hats that the Jews wear? I said, they're called yarmulkes. And she said, well, why do they wear those hats? I said, oh, you don't know. I said, the hats cover up the little horns that they have on their head. And she looks at me and she said, really? And the next thing she did is she put her hand on the top of my head to feel for the horns. And I just looked at her, and then she got it. You know, she said, you're putting me on. And I realized how far away I was from New York. You know, here's a woman who's actually looking for horns on my head. So that was a hell of a day. That was a really hell of a day. Emma Sue has stayed with me forever. And I think every time I hear people like that who have a prejudice against a group, I think of her. I really do. I think, how can you have that much prejudice and dislike of somebody you never met? And why would Oklahoma, which is like, doesn't have Jews, if you lived in LA and you hated Jews, you could understand why. If you live in New York and they hated Jews, you could understand why. But if you're living in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, why the hell would you hate Jews? I mean, I didn't get it at all. So I got one more story for today. It was the original title of Insanity Begins at Home. It was called "I Have No Luck at Funerals." Now,
What?
this is
Say
I
that one
have
again.
I have no luck at funerals.
Okay.
It's all about the deaths in my family. But when I was 15, just turned 16, my father died of a heart attack in Port Authority, and we went to the local funeral home. Now, he was a well-known, popular man in town, and I was the local athlete, etc. So everybody knew me. Everybody knew the family. And for hours, people were just coming into the funeral parlor. My father was 48 years old. So everybody's hugging and everybody is crying. And it's this surreal scene where I felt like I was in a movie, where I couldn't hear anything. I could just see their mouths moving, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. It was like I was in some other world. And this went on and on and on, seemingly for an eternity. It was probably a 2.5-hour vigil. The end of the vigil, my mother's friend from high school, her best friend, woman named Edith, is the last one to leave because she's waiting for everybody to go so she can really sit down with us and offer condolences, etc., and invites us, once this is over, come up to the house. She has this gorgeous big house. Her husband is Ward Green. Ward Green wrote Lady and the Tramp, and he sold it to Disney.
Wow.
He was the general manager of King Features Syndicate, who was responsible for my first job when I was 14. I worked for him. So this was a close family friend and helper. He gave my father a job, my sister a job, etc. On her way home from the service in the funeral parlor, Edith is 2 miles away from her house in close to New Jersey, when a drunk driver passes out driving the car and hits her head on and kills her.
Oh, no.
So I'm wondering, is this normal? On Friday, I lose my father. My mother loses her husband. On Friday night, she loses her best friend. And so this whole weekend is surreal. People who are coming to the funeral also know Edith. So it's now double pain. At the end of my father's wake, we now go to Edith's, and now we spend the next 2 days at there. So I went to a funeral for 5 straight days as a 16-year-old, day and night. It was like unreal. After that, my mother wasn't good to anybody. My mother took to the bed for over 2 years. So she was like, completely, she was like 43 years old, completely devastated. So I'm wondering, is this what happens at funerals? I mean, I don't know anybody who's lost a parent, and I don't know anybody who's lost, their mother has lost their husband and their best friend in 2 separate occasions on 2 separate days. So now it's a couple years later, and my grandmother, my sole survivor, the person who really raised me and showed me everything that I am today, my grandmother dies. My mother has to go to Florida and bring back the body. And where do they bring back the body? They bring it back to the funeral home that we had with my father. So now we're having the same people are showing up and stuff like that. And now it's time to take Nanny to the cemetery. But Harry Lieber, the owner of the funeral parlor, calls us into his office. He says, I'm sorry to tell you that the funeral service drivers are on strike. So we won't be able to go. Now, you know that they are Teamsters, and the local Teamster union is Tony Provenzano, a huge mob guy. with, the last guy who ran for election against Provenzano never made it through the election. Somehow he disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to him, but that's what happens to people that cross Tony Pro. So we had to wait. They said after Thursday, no bodies, there's a little guy with a cigar, no bodies come in or come out. You know what I'm saying? No bodies come in or come out. So if you're going to go, you got to go by Thursday. Now, the funeral was supposed to be over Friday. So we take one day off. We're going to go on Thursday, take Nanny to the cemetery and bury her. We show up. We're ready to get in the car. Lieber calls us into the office. He says, I don't know what to tell you. I'm so sorry. But the gravediggers are on strike. You're kidding. No, the gravediggers are on strike. We can go to the cemetery, but they won't lower her. We'll have to leave her there. Because we can't leave on Friday. Nobody's coming in, coming out of the funeral. So we get in the car, and my mother and I are just looking at one another like, So we go to the Paramus, we go to George Washington Cemetery, and there's a little place with a canopy, and they got a little structure, and they wheel Nanny over, and they put Nanny over there, and we're going to leave her under the watchful eye of nobody and go home, which is absolutely what we did. So we left Nanny outside.
Oh, my gosh.
We come home. We wait 2 days. The strike is over. Lieber sends the limo to our house. We go out there. Sure enough, they lower Nanny, they cover her up and everything. On the way home, my mother is just looking at me and she's saying, I guess we don't have any luck in his family at funerals.
Oh my gosh.
So now Nanny's husband, Papa, he doesn't want to live anymore. He's 89 years old. He's not used to living without Nanny. And he says, I want to die. So, well, Pop, listen, you're going to be 90 in 6 months. Live till 90, and then you can go. We got to have a birthday party. You have to make it till 90. Sure enough, he makes it to 90. 10 days after his 90th birthday, Pop dies on his own. So where are we now? Back at Lieber's. So now, this one seems like there's no problem. There's no strikes anywhere. We get in the car, and as we're leaving, Lieber says to us, I'm glad this one went well, because he's aware of all the chaos. So now we're driving, we're following the hearse, we're going out to the same cemetery where Nanny is, and along Route 4, the back left tire of the hearse blows out. Boom! Pops! Blow up. They pull the car over to the right. They open up the door. They take out Pop. They put Pop on the side of the road.
Oh, no.
Now they're jacking up the hearse. They're trying to fix the tire. And all the people that are driving by are looking at us. They're covering their mouths, so they're covering their eyes because they can't believe what they're seeing. There's the family lined up behind a hearse that's jacked up, and there's a body on the side of the road. So we're not even shocked by this. This is perfectly par for the course. They put on the new tire. Now it's raining, so now they got to wipe off Pop. They take him, they put him back in the hearse. Off we go. We go to the funeral. We go to the cemetery, and they put Pop down. We tell Nanny he had a one-up you. He couldn't stand the fact.
Oh my.
About 10 years later, my aunt dies. She's my father's youngest sister. She's Orthodox. I have to make the arrangements because I've taken care of her for all these years. Call the rabbi, we make the arrangement. We're not going to use the shul. We're just going to go to the funeral parlor where he's going to say a few words. We're going to put the body in the vehicle, the limo, and we're going to drive out to Queens and bury Aunt Helen. So we're all in the back of the car waiting for the driver to get in the car. As the body comes out, they're loading the body into the car. The rabbi comes to the car. He says, and I said, here we go. There's been a problem. This driver is not supposed to drive this car. He has been assigned to another one. But no problem. We have the new driver is on his way. You people can leave now. You can head straight out to the cemetery and we'll meet you at there. I'm saying, you mean you want us to leave without the body and go to the funeral parlor?
No.
He said, believe me, the driver is reliable. He'll speed up. He'll probably be there ahead of you. Okay, off we go. So, of course, we drive across New Jersey. We drive to Queens, blah, blah, blah. Well, the driver never showed up. They had to get a backup driver. The backup driver got caught in traffic. Before you know it, he couldn't leave till an hour later. So now we're sitting outside the cemetery waiting in the car. And it's an hour and a half before the limousine with Aunt Helen shows up. It's not every family that claps when a dead relative shows up at a cemetery. But you got to admit, we don't have any luck at funerals.
Oh my gosh.
So this is KYaks.guru. Thanks for listening.
Well, thanks for all the stories, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.